Hi, this is the second episode of Caring Communities. Today I'm here with Frank Reid from Rebuilding Together. Hi Frank, how are you today?
Ebony, very well. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh no, thank you for being here. So first of all, let's just get into it. Tell me about what exactly is Rebuilding Together?
Well, Rebuilding Together is an organization whose aim is to help low-income people fix their homes. So, to put it very simply, we work with folks who meet a certain economic test and who have a clear need to improve the health and safety of their home. And we have help from many different faith communities, businesses, other organizations who want to put together a team to make a difference in their community.
And how long has Rebuilding Communities been around?
Rebuilding Together's been around for about 25 years as a national organization. We have an organization in Oakland County that takes care of different communities in the county. And they've just completed very recently their 1,000th home here in Oakland County. So that was a cause for quite a bit of celebration, as you might imagine. Here in Farmington Hills, we've completed about 110 homes. And people think, well, how much need could there be in a community like this that's thought of, on the outside at least, as an affluent community, when indeed there are pockets of need, and there are people who, through whatever set of circumstances, have found themselves to be economically disadvantaged to some degree, and yet, they have some real needs inside their homes. So we've put in kitchens, we've completely re-drywalled, new ceilings, you name it, and we've accomplished it for homeowners.
Wonderful. And so tell me, what kind of families or individuals can take advantage of Rebuilding Together?
Well, the main criteria is you have to own your home. Okay. And that is to say you have to be a single-family homeowner, so to speak. So we don't do condominiums, we don't do mobile homes, that kind of thing. You have to be current on your taxes. And then you have to meet basically the HUD requirements for being low income. So, generally speaking, and it depends on how many people are in the household. Okay. And so on. But, very typically we'll have veterans or widows or folks who, like I say, for whatever reason have fallen into that category and, have a very clear need. We have a vetting process that we go through, and it's very similar actually to the City of Farmington Hills loan program, with whom, by the way, we work pretty closely. So things that they can't do through that program, we can do through Rebuilding Together, and things that we can't tackle, a new roof, for example. We're not going to put our volunteers up on a sharp roof and expect that they're going to do that kind of work. But that's something that can be handled through the City of Farmington Hills loan program.
Okay, so I know this is a nonprofit organization.
It is.
So I know you work with a lot of different organizations and partnerships within the community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We do. Well, like I say, one of our big partners is the City of Farmington Hills. Through a block grant program, they're able to help us reach a lot more folks than we otherwise might. And then we have corporate partners throughout both the local area and, of course, nationally, with whom the national organization partners, and we locally partner, for instance, Home Depot, as you might imagine, Lowe's, Eaton Corporation, and others who have really been really great partners in making us able to carry out our mission.
And talk to me a little bit about the volunteers. Who helps bring these amazing projects together? Who's helping?
Well, they are amazing people. Yeah. So our typical sponsor in that area is a faith community, church, synagogue, mosque. we also have credit unions and banks and engineering firms who have enough folks to put together a team. And I would say the average team, there's no average, but they kind of look like about 50 volunteers. And we have a work day where we've focused, and this year it's April 29th. And so we bring all these people together, and well before then we have what's called a house captain who kind of plans out the work, makes sure that they understand what materials need to be on site. We have a logistics person who actually gets the materials there ahead of the work day, and any of the pre-workday activity that needs to take place gets scheduled in, and then they hit it hard with a big bunch of people on the workday, and it's amazing the kinds of transformations that take place.
So the work day, is that for Farmington Hills? Will that be?
It's actually a national work day.
Oh, okay.
And some of the groups are getting away from that, but I find it's a really great way to kind of focus the attention on, bettering the community. We usually get a couple of city trucks and some volunteers to help us move stuff around. And it's kind of a really neat way to kick off the building season, if you will, to get everybody kind of mobilized on a given day.
So April is pretty much like your building season. Spring's coming.
Well, April 29th is our day.
Okay.
So watch for lots of signs going up, around our building sites, and usually there's a bunch of cars parked around, and it becomes pretty apparent that that something's happening.
Okay, another question I have for you, when you all are working on these projects, I know that you mentioned that a lot of the volunteers do have day jobs. So how long does a typical project take? How do people manage their time? What do you
Well,
see?
we try to get most of the work done in one day. So again, that takes a lot of planning so that people aren't running into each other, and you've got, what needs to get done first and second and third, clearly identified. But the goal is to get it done in one day. Now we've had, when you're doing a kitchen, you're not going to get it done in one day. So, some of those things require the house captain to continue on for a while. But the goal is to get the majority of the work done and accomplish at the end of the day on that Saturday.
All right, thank you. We're just going to take a little break and we'll be right back.
What does hope look like? It's in the rising walls of a home rebuilt, raising the spirit of a community reborn. What does heart sound like? It's in the rhythm of nails pounded into wood, a beat driven by the conviction that inspiration can overcome desperation. What does home feel like? It's in the faces of Americans who built generations of memories in their home and then saw it slipping away, until friends they had never met turned out to lend a hand. For more than 30 years, Rebuilding Together has spread hope to homeowners in need, providing free home rehabilitation, making homes safer and more energy efficient. This is a place where you can turn dreams into reality. Go to rebuildingtogether.org and share the feeling of home.
Welcome back. We are here with Frank Reid from Rebuilding Together. Frank, I just wanted to ask you, what brought you or got you involved with Rebuilding Together, and what's your role with the organization?
Well, my story is probably similar to a lot of people's stories. My son actually needed some service hours when he was in school, and so I looked around to try to find something that we could both participate in and that could best use our skills. And I've done a lot of home building and home renovation activities, so this seemed like a good fit. And he seemed interested, so we gave it a try through our parish, and we did that for a few years, and then the leadership team from my parish decided to move on, and they asked me to take over, which I did, and did that for a few years. And then the leadership for the Farmington Hills group moved on to another assignment, and I took that on as well. So, and then now I've been asked to be on the board of Rebuilding Together Oakland County. So it seems like if you're willing to work, they're willing to give you tasks to do. So that's kind of been my role. And what I do is make sure that the leadership group of Farmington Hills comes together regularly and looks at the projects that we have in the queue at the moment. What I've been trying to do is really beat the bushes for good applications for Rebuilding Together. It turns out that one of the hardest things that we have, at least in the local area, is finding folks who will apply. This is completely free. This is no obligation to them. But what I guess I'm finding is that people's worlds tend to get a little smaller when their means tend to contract. And so they don't know about us. They don't know that this is here. So I've gone to the Interfaith Organization. I've gone to the Council of Homeowners Associations. You know, any venue that I can get to solicit people to go out into their local area and try to find folks who need this kind of help to get the application in and let us help them.
Now, how many families do you typically try to help per year? You know, are you able to?
It's usually 8 to 10.
Okay.
But I'd love to be in a situation where I need to get some more teams formed because I feel like we can accomplish that pretty quickly. But if I don't have the projects to drive that, then, you know, I don't want to put a bunch of teams together without something for them to do. So, you know, it really is, you know, ask your neighbors, look around, you know, is there a home that's kind of getting a little rough around the edges and maybe, you know, somebody's there that, you know, doesn't want to admit that they need help, but in fact they do. So it's kindly kind of getting them moving in the direction of getting in an application. And, you know, it's pretty painless after that. We take over and work with them to identify what it is they need doing, and it's amazing the transformations. So one of the homes that, when I was a house captain that I worked on in the southeast corner of Farmington Hills, you know, we came in with our usual 50 volunteers and things were happening, and the lady across the street came over and said, you know, did she win the lottery? What's going on here? And I explained, you know, who we were and what we were up to. And she said, well, how do I get involved in this? And so I gave her an application, and the very next year she was our project for that year. So sometimes it takes a little seeing is believing, and what we're trying to do is just get as many people helped as we possibly can, and we need the entire community to come together to help identify that need and help us help them.
And I think, too, it goes back to, you know, just in Farmington Hills, you don't really associate this community with, also, there are many people here that are in need of services like this. And again, I just want you to reiterate, it doesn't have to be the whole home. It can just be, you know, a kitchen. If your kitchen needs repair, or your roof is damaged, and you know, can you talk a little bit?
Or a deck, or a stairway. You know, a lot of times for folks, it's getting in and out of the house. Either they're now using a walker or a wheelchair. We've done a tremendous number of ramps. We've widened doorways. In fact, this 1,000th home, which was up in Commerce, was for a woman who was very seriously disabled, who was totally confined to a wheelchair, yet the house was in no way, shape, or form able to accommodate a wheelchair. So they went in and did some very serious work, opened up every doorway so that the wheelchair could get in and out, transformed the bathroom to a wheelchair-friendly bathroom, and made a tremendous difference in this person's life, and as you might imagine. Same for the projects we've done for veterans. there's kind of a separate veterans program that, for people who have served their country in such a profound way. This is a way that's very visibly giving back to somebody in those circumstances who's in need. And we've done some wonderful programs, or projects I should say, that have really transformed their living conditions in a very visible and profound way.
And in terms of volunteers, I know you said your background, you have some background, you know how to build things, construct things. Now, do all your volunteers have that same kind of background?
They do not. They do not. We have people who have never swung a hammer or picked up a paintbrush, and they learn a lot by participating. In some cases, and then we have youth groups too, who obviously are not going to be that experienced by virtue of being a student. But we have a lot of outdoor activity in terms of raking and tidying of yards, trimming branches, trimming bushes, changing the landscape around. So there's a lot of different kinds of tasks for different skill levels. But if somebody's interested in learning, this would be a great way for them to get some practice in under good supervision that they can then maybe apply to their own home. So.
Okay, great. And just tell me, why is this so important to you? Why does this mean so much to you?
Well, I've seen how it transforms people's lives. I've seen how people who are living in pretty rough circumstances all of a sudden have something that they can feel safe and secure in. And really, the health and safety aspects are the ones that we put at the top of the list in terms of what we're trying to accomplish for people. We want them to be in an environment that doesn't risk their health and doesn't, cause a potential fall or slip or a problem in their home environment. So that's really our main goal, is to get them in a safe, secure environment, and just seeing that be accomplished in such a big way has been a tremendous payback in itself.
Wonderful. So let's just summarize a few things. On April 29th is your work day.
That's a Saturday.
Okay.
It's always on a Saturday.
Okay. And then, so that's your big upcoming event to kind of kick off the season.
Yep.
If people are interested in getting involved, they can go to your website. If they
Please
want to
do.
volunteer, they can go to your website.
Yes.
If they want to apply. Applications are available if they're in need or would like assistance from Rebuilding Together.
Yep.
On the website.
If they'd like to be a sponsor, we have that capability there as well. So everything's there. We just need to ask everybody to look around their environment to see if there's somebody who might need this kind of help, and then guide them to how to get this help for them. And it's a great way to volunteer, but it's a great way also to learn at the same time. We have some leadership training coming up this Saturday for those people who kind of shepherd these projects along for each of the homes. So that's happening as soon as this Saturday. And on a logistical basis, we have some wonderful volunteers who make sure that you have everything you need to do what needs to get done on that work day. We also have a few other programs that we call off-cycle programs, and kind of an emergency program where somebody has something that has occurred, maybe a water heater's gone out or a pipe has burst or whatever it might be that's causing them some real concerns or causing them a real safety issue, that we can address it right then and there and not have to wait until the building day. But so there's a lot of things going on. I think I might have mentioned before we started that we're doing some projects. Our Farmington Hills steering team is sponsoring a project for South Oakland Shelters, who serves homeless people throughout the area. And one of the things that we're doing for them is constructing a bike shed on their property in Lathrop Village. One of the things that they discovered was, they need to help people get to their work assignments so they can kind of rebuild their lives and get out of the cycle of homelessness. And one of the ways to do that is to provide some means of transportation to those jobs. And a bicycle is a great way to do that as a good first step. But they don't have any place to store bicycles, so they've asked us to get involved in that project, and my steering team stepped up and said, yeah, let's do this. So that's kind of a side project that we're doing that's not, quite in our geographical footprint, but we think will have some real payback for the wider community.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well. Anything that you would like to add that I haven't asked you or that you would like to mention?
Well, I just want to encourage as many people as can to consider being a volunteer or beating the bushes for folks who might need this kind of help or contribute in any way they can. So we're open to any kinds of help that people can put together for us.
Thank you so much, Frank, for talking with us about rebuilding together, and we will see you next time.